All right, so go figure. Like I said, the Broncos were looking like the team to win. Yet I changed my mind on my pick because of the Civil War Moses narrative. I mean, I really thought that the blacks might be rising up. I mean, this Super Bowl got me really confused. It was like so much harder to understand. There was a lot of coding involved in it. It was way harder than the NBA Finals, the World Series, even the Masters. I remember talking a lot about Jordan Spieth because I was talking about a Michael Jordan type theme that they kept running, and of course he won. But I have a lot to talk about. I'm going to talk about the rigged parts of the Super Bowl, lots of other things that all tie in together with it. But before I even mention the game, if you go back and read my previous posts, I talk a lot about the royal family and earthquakes and how they've been super coded into the Super Bowl. And I said, it could happen at the Super Bowl, lots of foreshadowing to the Super Bowl, but it's most likely coded to some other event that goes along with just the coding, coding to the Super Bowl. I still think there's going to be some type of East Coast earthquake. I guess, we'll wait and see. But anyway, the day before Super Bowl 50 was Queen Elizabeth's 64th anniversary as queen. We also got the Taiwan earthquake. And back in December, I had a video about Taiwan and China because of this article right here on CNN. And when you clicked on this article, it literally brought you up. It was just like two guys talking pretty much. But in the article, they show you this boat here with the number 56 on it. I was all about the number 56. It was popping up all over. Paris, France equals 56. ISIS equals 56. Just tons of stuff with it. Ronda Rousey, Osama bin Laden, Adolf Hitler, Saddam Hussein, they all add up to 56. Interesting, Taipei, Taiwan in this article equals 56. Beijing equals 56. And I just said that there's a couple places to maybe watch out for. I even mentioned the upcoming Taiwan election. And go figure, this lady won by 56% of the vote. Her name adds up to 121 and 49, just like the word revelation. She was born 21 or elected 21 days before the 6.4 earthquake on Queen Elizabeth's 64th anniversary as queen. Also want to point out, remember the Trans-Asia flight that crashed in Taiwan last year? Or supposedly, it was exactly 1 year and 2 days for this earthquake. So similar to the 12, Taiwan is even located on 121 degrees east, just like the Revelation. Also interesting, 2/6 is the 37th day of the year. I've mentioned a lot of 12 and 21 coding. There was a lot of it in the Super Bowl even. The 12th prime is 37. Even right here, they talk about the buildings collapsing, and they mention Tainan, Taiwan. Tainan, Taiwan equals 46. The Mirror of 64. Also, Chicago, the 1985 Bears were absolutely coded to the Super Bowl. They even won the 1986 or Super Bowl 20. They won scoring 46 points using the revolutionary 4-6 defense. Chicago and gematria adds up to 46 and 37. This year it was the 46th modern era Super Bowl. But anyway, it's totally coded to Queen Elizabeth. Even here they have the power went out. Initially, it was reported 168,000 households experienced power outages. I mentioned lots of stuff about blackouts. Anyway, the 168,000, it's all just a tribute to Queen Elizabeth II. Her name adds up to 168. I put in Beyonce Knowles and Taylor Swift in here as well, because they both add up to 168. The Queen is 89 this year. Taylor Swift has her album 89. Way back when in the VMAs when Kanye West got up on stage and Beyonce was supposed to be the greatest ever, whatever, Interesting, they add up to the same thing. There's lots of other stuff with this as well, but Kanye got up on stage in Glastonbury and he sung the Queen song. Interesting, Taylor Swift has the song Bad Blood. It was the Queen song. Freddie Mercury died of AIDS. He had bad blood. I mean, it's just so ridiculous how they do this. But moving on here, so it even says right now 41 dead after this earthquake. Super Bowl equals 41. It was a depth of 23 kilometers, or also 1.3 miles. I mean, for 2 weeks now, I've mentioned this 143 and how it's connected to earthquakes and natural disasters. I mean, if you go back, check out the death of Ben Carson staffer, the firing of David Blatt, and even the Happy Gilmore videos. Or I think I have them on this blog as well. But Joplin, Missouri, remember the big tornado that happened? It happened on 5/22, the 143rd day of the year. Oh, interesting, too, that day is 223 days left. The Synagogue of Satan equals 223. Masonic. Lots of other stuff. Friday the 13th. The Paris attacks happened on Friday the 13th. It was also the day that the Knights Templar were completely wiped out. David Blatt, the Cavs coach, just got fired on January 22nd, 122. It was 122 days before his birthday. That was on the 143rd day of the year. Steve Kerr also returned to the Warriors that day. And so, I mean, these two teams played in the finals last year. This guy gets fired, and Steve Kerr comes back. And then the Warriors scored 122 points on 122. Blatt was even fired after coaching the Cavs for 143 games. And the Ben Carson stuff tied into Johnny Carson, who was even from southwest Iowa, where the guy died. The Johnny Carson show or whatever, the last episode was on 5/22 as well. The worst ever East Coast earthquake was recorded on 8/31 of 1886. That adds up to 143. I talked a lot about Apollo Creed and how it tied into Philadelphia and the movie Happy Gilmore because of he's Chubbs on Happy Gilmore, and Grizzly Adams just died. Grizzly Adams did have a beard. You got to go check it out. It makes a lot more sense. Anyway, moral of the story, I was right about the earthquake, and it's just more proof that it was a 6.4 on Queen Elizabeth's 64th anniversary. I even mentioned if she dies, Prince Charles will become the king, and if he becomes the king, he'll be the oldest person to become the king. He's 67 now, but the last guy that was the oldest to become king was 64. Prince Charles in Gematria equals 131 and 68. Interesting, Taiwan equals 68. Superbowl adds up to 131, just like Prince Charles. If he becomes the king, he'll be King Charles. King Charles equals 107. If you write out the word 107, it equals 131, just like Superbowl. Also interesting, earthquake equals 107. Royal family also equals 56. Queen Elizabeth even became queen because her dad died at the age of 56 in 1952. Also, something to keep in mind is that this was the Super Bowl 50, the Golden Super Bowl, and when Queen Elizabeth had her 50th year, her Golden Jubilee, her sister Margaret died 3 days later, and then exactly 49 days after her sister died, her mom died. They were both buried on 4/9, April 9th. I mean, just think about it. They died 49 days apart. They both got buried on 4/9. You got Golden, that all has to do with the 49ers, right? Princess Margaret even died at the age of 71. An interesting number this year. Super Bowl 50 equals 71. Golden Super Bowl equals 71. She would have even been 85 years old if she's still alive. I've said that this Super Bowl was super coded to the 85 Bears. Her mom was 101. The 26th prime is 101. Her anniversary, Queen's, is on 2/6. Queen Elizabeth even turned 26 in 1952, the year that she became queen. She was coronated on June 2nd, 6/2, 62 years ago.
I made the show.
Tons of other stuff with that. Panthers equals 101. Philadelphia also equals 101. And I put that in here just because I've been mentioning Philadelphia over and over this year. Interesting, lots of black right stuff. Philadelphia is a predominantly black area as well. Bill Cosby's from Philadelphia. Philadelphia also has a big part in, the beginning of this country. There was 56 signers on the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia. The first one was John Hancock, who died at the age of 56. The number's 64, so it's Queen Elizabeth's 64th anniversary of being queen, but 64 is also connected to civil rights. JFK died at the age of 46. Interesting, too, when Obama became the president, they came out with an article about how JFK, there was a plot to assassinate JFK at Soldier Field where the Chicago Bears play, but then he escaped it or didn't go or whatever. Interesting, so I was in Chicago. JFK died at the age of 46, the mirror of 64. He actually died in Dallas, Texas, it adds up to 46. Chicago equals 46. His wife, Jackie, died at the age of 64. He was replaced by Lyndon B. Johnson, who adds up to 64, who also died at the age of 64. When he was president in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed. Civil rights equals 64. If you write out MLK Jr., it equals 64. John F. Kennedy also equals 131, just like Superbowl. And then LBJ even died on 122, just like San Francisco equals 122. Golden State equals 122. If you write out Barack Hussein Obama, it equals 64. People even call him Barry, equals 64. I mean, lots of stuff coded to the assassination of Obama. Obama's the 44th president. 44th equals 64. He'll be replaced by Joe Biden. If you write out Joe Biden, it equals 64. Even the racial stuff in Michigan this year, we have like Flint, Michigan. Interesting, you write out Flint, Michigan, it equals 71, just like Super Bowl 50. Michigan equals 46 and 64. The Super Bowl is played at 49ers Stadium. 49ers equals 64. Denver Broncos equals 64. 15-1 was what the Panthers were. 15-1 equals 64. Steph Curry's even coded into all this. Steph Curry equals 64. Friends with Cam Newton. Tons of other stuff. They're even mirroring the Chicago Bulls this year. They're trying to beat the Chicago Bulls record. Even just had the 64th Miss Universe pageant with Steve Harvey messing up the crown. And I talked about how I think that when he switched the crowns, it might have something to do with like a shift in power of the royal family or whatever. Interesting, Prince Charles's wife, Princess Camilla, equals 64. Also, Michael Jordan, Steve Harvey, Bill Cosby all belong to the same fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. That adds up to 64. Even the Bridgewater shooting, that fake shooting this year, Vester Flanagan, the shooting happened at 6:46 in the morning. He died 6 hours and 46 minutes later in Falls Church, Virginia, right next to the CIA headquarters. I mean, give me a break. He was 41 years old. Super Bowl equals 41. He's even from San Francisco, and he shot up people because of racial discrimination. And I mean, Super Bowl 50 undoubtedly coded to the Black Panthers theme, just like I said. The NFL draft is even in Chicago this year. The last time that it was in Chicago was in 1964. I mean, Beyonce dressed like Michael Jackson. Her full name, Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter, equals 122. Just like San Francisco. Just like Kansas City, who won the World Series this year. Just like Golden State, who won the NBA Finals this year. Interesting, too, Kyle Busch won the NASCAR. Kyle Busch equals 52. I talked a lot about 5-2. That's the day Princess Charlotte was born. 5-2, the 122nd day of the year. Even if you go back and watch my Jungle Book and my LBJ posts that I mentioned previously, Michael Jackson died at the age of 50, like Super Bowl 50, but in the black or white video, Michael Jackson starts the video off, he is a Black Panther, and then he morphs into a human. Interesting, it doesn't matter for black or white, he really is right, because, we're all slaves in this system. It has nothing to do with race. But the best way to keep us slaves is to keep us divided and use this color scheme. The Black Panthers are also 50 years old in 2016. Super Bowl 50. But I only have about 20 seconds left on this video. I'm going to make a part 2. I'll get a lot more into detail with the Civil War, civil rights type theme, also the coding in the Super Bowl. This will probably be like a 4 or 5 part video. So anyway, see you in part 2.